On this episode, you get a real glimpse into the new world of having old friends. You see them every day on social media, but you rarely meet in person. My guest is Maggie, and we originally met each other in 1994. Fast forward, this is the first time we've been face-to-face in about 18 years. So of course, we reminisce about who we were back then. But now we're both divorced, we're both parents, and we understand the importance of being a leader. We also talk about the importance of meditation, reluctantly. And if I can give a special shout out to my very best friend, I would not be who I am without you. I dedicate this to you, Melvin Taylor. I love you, bro. Thank you so much. Let's jump in. Hey everybody, welcome to the Modern Good Podcast. So glad that you're coming back and doing this thing. And as always, before I get started, introduce my guest. We're going to do the regular shout outs. Joe Andrade Media does all my cool pictures and videos. My guy Jason, he's at Wish Pocket, does all my sound. That's why we sound so awesome. My guy Jaron, he has No Names Originals. You can find him on Instagram. He is a local North Carolina artist, so make sure you support him. He's my guy. What's up? And then last but not least, my guy Mo, he has a Go Bubble app. And if you use a promo code Go Moderately, you get a discount. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, please, please, please. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow. Thank you so much. Everybody, welcome my friend, longtime friend. We were talking about like how long it's been since we've seen each other, like 25 plus in person. Like virtually. Or like social media, I see every day. I mean, like we're like, hey, what's up? Saw you yesterday at work. Saw us on the Facebooks or whatever. My friend Maggie, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
So serious. What's new? What's new in 20 years? What you been up to?
Lots.
Do you know? Actually, I didn't know that you've been married, divorced 2 or 3 times.
You are coming right out of the gate.
No, you told me that. Like that's not. That's not like I could go to the marriage books right and find it. I mean, like if I wanted to. So I'm just asking.
I've been married 3 times, divorced twice.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You do know. You were at one of my weddings, weren't you? Like back in the day, my very first one.
The very first one. Do you know what I remember about that wedding?
What do you remember? Remember, I saw you at in New Braunfels. You were working at that Italian restaurant.
Johnny Carino's?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only Italian restaurant I really worked at. But I don't remember that. What was that? What were you doing that day?
Just eating there. We had gone to Johnny Carino's because we were in New Braunfels, and I had ordered their soup. And you said, you just broke my heart on that day. You said, "Can I tell you a secret about Johnny Carino's and this soup that you love?" And I was like, man. Sure. He's like, you go, "You know what comes in a plastic bag, and all we do is pour it in a bowl and warm it up for you." And I'm like, that's awesome.
God, like I'm a crappy waiter. Like,
you mean it's not made from scratch?
I can't believe I said that.
Oh, you did?
I must have felt comfortable with not losing my job or something.
Oh, well, it was probably because we'd already known each other for at least 10 years at that time. Maybe not that, probably not that long, 5 years. And you knew all the secrets.
All the secrets of Johnny Carino's?
And any type of restaurant. Yeah, Casa Olay.
Yeah, Casa Olay, repping my Casa Olay. This is, to some people, this is like $100 shirt, but I got it for $14.99.
Even better.
Shout out to the guy that sold it to me on eBay.
And I love the date, the year on it too.
I know. But I'm pretty sure I probably worked there in 95.
Oh, no doubt, because we met in 94. So yeah, 3 marriages, 2 divorces. Third's a charm, right? So.
Really quickly, I want to drop back to your first wedding.
What do you remember?
What I remember it was a Catholic wedding, wasn't it?
Yes.
I remember it's the first wedding I ever been to where you had to like kneel down and shit. And I was like,
Catholic calisthenics.
I was like, what are we doing? Okay, getting back down. All right. Oh, well, we're standing up here. Oh, we can sit down now. Okay. Do I push the thing back? Oh no, we're kneeling back down again. Okay. Oh, and everybody's eating. Oh, everybody's wine and everybody's having wine and bread. We're all getting wine and bread. Like, everybody's taking communion. Okay, we're going to do that for everyone. We're lighting candles. Was you light candles in those too?
I don't, not
When there's
as
some kind of joint candle,
the
something.
unity candle, yeah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. You want to hear something funny about that wedding?
Mm-hmm.
So at the reception at the big Goliad dance hall, auditorium, whatever, I don't know what ended up happening, but people got food poisoning.
Really?
Talk about an omen. Yeah. It was something about, I don't remember the specifics on it, but yeah, there was a couple of folks that got food poisoning.
Okay, so your first wedding, everyone got food poisoning, and you got divorced from that gentleman?
After a year.
Okay. So then your second wedding, was there any omens to a divorce in your second wedding during your wedding?
No, actually, that was such a picture-perfect wedding. It was a picture-perfect reception at the golf club in Victoria. And no, it was awesome. It was amazing.
Wait, do you think that was that by design or by just fate that it worked out well? Like that nothing went wrong?
Oh, I had my hand in everything.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of looking for.
I controlled everything. And I was also older, right? I mean, I knew a little bit more of what I was doing. And, I just had my hand in everything. And
How old were you the first time you got married?
20.
Oh, yeah.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean...
It was a blip.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even really count it in the sense of like you were like, hey, I've gotten divorced twice. In my mind, you've really only gotten divorced once.
Well, it's funny because sometimes I actually do. 46. I was 20 at the time, so long ago.
Yeah.
I met some. I firmly believe everything happens for a reason. There's no event that happens in your life that isn't for cause or a reason, right? There was amazing people that I met in that time in my life, family members of his. I actually went to school with his sister, and we still are connected. We text every once in a while now. And so it was fine. There was a purpose. I wish it was an educational purpose and how to get married and find the one, but no.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you know what the not the one looks like.
But it's funny because you meet 20-year-olds now, and I'm thinking, that's how old I was when how dumb could I have been,
Well, to take that a step further, I would say, this is just my opinion because everybody talks like this when they get old, is that my generation, our generation, were better equipped to handle even a marriage at 20, even though we weren't equipped.
That's a good point.
We weren't equipped, but let me tell you something. These kids can't be equipped now, in my opinion.
No, and you think about...
There's people my age that aren't equipped still.
Well, and I think about, and I don't... growing up, in my mind at that time, because nobody's perfect, my parents had the perfect marriage, and it's like, oh, well, that's what I want. So this is exactly how it's going to be, right? And I don't know if you felt that way back when you were 20, and you think, oh, it's going to be exactly the way I was raised and what I saw, and it's going to be perfect and lollipops and rainbows.
Hey, you're seeing that, but you're seeing that end product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How long your parents been married? Long time, right?
Sorry, Mom and Dad, I can't remember.
I mean, it's not
71.
Hey, it's not your wedding anniversary. Why do you got to remember? That's the way. I don't know when. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I don't know. I think it's 40-something years.
Give or take. Yeah, give or take.
But the point is that at the time you're old enough to recognize a relationship of what it is, if your parents have a decent or good relationship or they're still married or whatever it is, they've already been working on that for 10, however old you are, probably at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they had to get together to have you.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if now that we're older, we hear the stories of the trials and the tribulations of well, wait a minute, we weren't perfect kids. We did this and we said this and we had these issues and what? We never saw it.
Okay. I don't want to set this up for you. Do you think or have you had the epiphany that your parents weren't perfect when you thought they were when you were a kid?
Oh, absolutely. And they're the ones to admit we weren't perfect.
Oh
gosh. My parents, that's, it's probably why I'm the same way with my daughter. What?
Lucky you.
Yeah, no, it's, they're very open. They're very, now they are, go back 20 years. No, absolutely not. You want to shelter your kids, right? And I was 26, so maybe 25, 30 years, you shelter your kids from certain things. And I remember they would have fights, but it was never oh my gosh, my parents are going to get divorced. I don't even know if I knew what divorce was back then because it was never in front of us. It was never talked about. It was always, then the next day, everything's fine, right? But now my parents are very open with us and they talk to us about if it ggets brought up, right? Oh, well, your dad did this or your mom did this or whatever. We had these issues, and we kind of laugh about them. But yeah, and it helps us put things into perspective of you weren't that perfect.
Okay, so, as a mom, how do you approach that? Do you give your daughter the view of perfection, or do you let her behind the curtain of how this stuff kind of goes? Dun, 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 dun.
I think it's interesting because at age 4, her father and I divorced, and she was very quickly thrown into 2 households. But what her dad and I did really well, I think, is how we approached that moment in time. She never knew we were getting divorced. When it originally happened, it was just that daddy's moving out. He's going to have his own place. He's going to live a little bit closer to where he works. And the great thing is you're going to have 2 houses. He's moving into an apartment that has a pool. You'll have a pool. So we both.
I feel like you sold her a timeshare.
She bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
I mean, it's a good approach. I mean, you're putting a positive spin on it.
Yeah, we tried. And it was very important that no matter the issues that came in our marriage and the reason it, ultimately ended, he and I actually work very well together, even to this day, to make sure that her emotions are where they should be, and what she knows she needs to know. Now, what I will say is, and even as Lucy gets older, she's going to be very perceptive and start picking up on things and know how mommy lives her life and how daddy lives his life. And even though there's a cohesive family here, she's going to still see the differences in mommy and daddy. And I think Annalise is starting to pick up on things.
Well, Aaron, my girlfriend, and I sleep in separate rooms.
So did Jeff and I.
Right. Is it? Hey, wait. Okay.
It's called something.
I don't really call it shit. I'll tell you what I call it. Good fucking sleep. That's what I call that shit. What do you call it? You call it good fucking sleep, right?
He probably does a little bit more. Let me go take a step back for those that watch this and are like, why does Maggie and her husband sleep in separate rooms?
We can go through it real quick. Challenge me on it. I don't give a shit. Here's what I'll tell you. What maybe you're looking for inside the bed when you're sleeping with each other, mm-hmm. You're still going to have plenty of that. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to be like, it's not going to be
picture TV perfect.
Yeah, it's just not going to be. It could be somewhere new. Maybe have it in a new place. Like it's like sometimes it feels like I'm going over to Aaron's apartment, and I'm like, hey, like I live down the hallway, and I'm like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Like it's and I sleep well, and I have to get up early, and Aaron has a different schedule because of my daughter, and so. Does that make sense?
Oh,
but I think people think
it's taboo.
It says something about me and the security of my relationship if we don't sleep in the same bed. Let me tell you something. People be getting divorced all over the fucking place, sleeping in the same bed.
I would agree.
So I mean, what do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? Might save your marriage. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's this misconception, right, that you have to have this little box of a marriage and you have to fit. Don't color outside the lines. You have to fit inside this box, maybe because, my parents slept in the same room for 40-something year, 50. How long have y'all been married, mom and dad? 50-something years, I think. So, and I'm sure your parents probably did too. So you think in your mind, that's what a successful marriage should look like. When Annalise was much younger, we co-slept, and her dad snored, and so we kicked him out, and so it's really kind of been since then. But she and I, still co-sleep, and there was a shame that I felt about that because what am I doing to my daughter? Is this going to create attachment issues? That was my thought, right? But when you invite another person into your home, which is when Jeff and I started really getting serious about our relationship, and he moved in right before we got married. It was important that Annalise felt comfortable, even though she loved Jeff, she loved being around him, but there was a new man sleeping in our home, right? We were already sleeping in the same, room, Annalise and I, because when, there was a time when it was just Annalise and I in our home. But I think fast forward to where we are now, my husband is gone all the time, or he works, he's a truck driver, so he's gone. And so there's a comfort level, it's a safety level for me. And when he gets home, he's on a different sleep cycle than I am. And it doesn't match because he goes to bed at like 12 or 1 o'clock because that's what he's used to when he's on the road. And no, homie goes to sleep at 10 o'clock, 9:30. I need lights out. And so yeah. But when Annalise is with her dad and, it's just Jeff and I, of course, we sleep in the same bed, but it works. And our marriage is strong, not because of it or in spite of it, but it doesn't affect our marriage in any way.
Sleeping next to someone has little to do with the success of your relationship.
No, and I don't cuddle like when I go to sleep. Like,
well, okay, so let me tell you. I've said this before. I'll tell you this for free. If I'm going to sleep in my own room in my own bed, and my girlfriend's going to have her own room in her own bed, and my daughter's going to have her room in her own bed, when she comes and she's like, "Hey, Daddy, I want to sleep in your bed," I'm like, nope. Everybody has their own room and their own bed. Sorry. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And I don't have to feel bad. Like I was like, because there's a stigma that me and Erin don't sleep in the same room. Right. And I'm like, well, I'm at her friends, probably a lot of her friends, their parents are going to sleep in the same bed. She's going to be like, my mommy and daddy don't sleep in the same bed. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to empower and go, no, you have a whole room to yourself. You have a whole room. Go get it. Mm-hmm. Stay out of mine. Stay out of my room. Stay out of my bed. I do later sleep in the bed every once in a while. Like, you know what I mean? Like as like a treat.
Sure.
But also like, I'm like on nights where I want to sleep by myself, I just tell her, I go, no, I am sleeping by myself. No, Dad, I want to sleep. No. Tonight I am sleeping by myself. You have to be okay when I say, I don't want you to sleep in the bed with me tonight. You need to sleep in your bed.
Sure.
Now you can ask mommy if you want to sleep in her room, but then mommy gets to make a decision. And if no one, it sounds sad.
Oh, poor kiddo.
No, but like you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's where you can that's where you don't build attachment, when you have like boundaries around whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think there was also and it is true, the divorce guilt, right? It's like when I wanted to nurture Annalise as much as I possibly could when she was really just kind of getting into Daddy's not here anymore. He doesn't live here. And she would ask questions all the time. And this is at the tender age of 4 going on to 5. And, you try to overcompensate. You try to fill the little void and the gaps of their broken heart because Daddy doesn't live here anymore. And I just wanted to be with her and surround her with love and nurture her and hug her. And we, snuggle at night and whatnot. And so I think kind of still goes a little bit hand to hand with the guilt of, I never wanted her to feel abandoned or alone.
All right. I got a question for you.
Sure.
She comes to you tomorrow. She goes, Mommy, I don't want to sleep in your bed no more. Ever again.
I will. That's your choice. Yeah. And I will accept it.
So, but I mean like that like she needs to feel no guilt to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what I mean? Like, and that's important because like, when we talk about what's healthy and what's not, you go, oh, people say it's unhealthy if your child still sleeps with them, blah, 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 whatever. But if your child comes to you and goes, I'm not doing this anymore, and then like you start trying to make them feel guilty or do something, now we're talking about a bad behavior.
100%.
Right?
I couldn't agree more. And I do build it up to where I say, baby, mommy's eventually not, I'm not going to sleep with you. She's like, no, Mommy, I want you to sleep with me always. But she is, 15 years old. I'm sure she's going to be like, get out of my room, right? Or whatever age she deems she no longer wants Mommy in there. And I will 100% respect and honor that.
Does she have any interest in boys yet?
Yes. Yes.
I don't, how old is she?
9.
Oh, man.
She is a little...
I got some work to do.
You'd have some work to do. But you know what? Here's the thing that I encourage, look, you do you, boo, right? But I encourage every mother and parent, you have to encourage them to come to you and tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Because it can't be a situation where she tries to keep it a secret. Because then she's always going to keep things a secret. And so when I started to kind of discover and notice things that she was saying or doing, I finally just asked her. And she kind of looked at me. I apologize. Let me take it back. I found a note in her backpack. I said something about Sebastian, something.
Okay, hang on a second. Were you looking for a note?
No.
It just kind of fell out?
I was, wait until she gets a backpack and all the
Objection.
the junk that is in said backpack. And there was a note and it said something, it didn't say like, I like Sebastian, but it had his name on it. And I was like, who's Sebastian? When your child looks at you a certain way, and I knew instantly this was a moment that I had to really make the right decision in what I say. And the way she
really quickly, it's not really a moment to tease your kids.
No, gosh, no, because then they will never say anything ever.
Okay, but did you get teased?
I never went to my, I never shared with my mom.
Or your dad?
No, but I did have a boyfriend at age 15, and he actually went to the courthouse when my mom was the secretary of one of the judges, sat in the little lobby area waiting to go into her office and ask her if he could take me out or something.
Nice.
Right? Shout out Juan Pena. Great job. So yeah, no. And so that was like my little boyfriend in high school. So the bar was set. Right. And I never told my mom. Not because she never made me feel comfortable in telling her. I did fear my dad, but it was a different time. I never felt, I don't know. I can't explain it.
What would you say? I've met your mom like 3 times.
Give or take, yeah.
I mean, you're like, I don't know. Your mom's pretty intimidating, I think. Like
she's like this tall.
I know, but like, I mean, she's just like, she was a judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is what my vibe is. Good judges are super empathetic, but they are going to deliver their message with very clear, black and white instructions or ideas.
100, yes,
and if you really listen to what they're saying, you understand that they're trying to help you. But if you're not hearing it because you're too much in your feelings, then you might not hear it or whatever. And that's the impression I got of her. Yeah.
So we're kind of digressing a little bit into my mom, and I'll go back to the whole kid thing in a minute, but my mom ran her courtroom she wasn't a courtroom, but ran her court, her judgeship, whatever, the way she kind of ran us and the empathy part. I mean, she was very empathetic, but she dealt in facts. And the fact is you broke the law. The fact is you can't do this. The fact is da-da-da-da-da. You can cry on my shoulder. I'll listen to you. I will. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be any more lenient than I was 10 minutes ago when you started to tell me your sob story. You know what I mean? And it was very important for my mom to stand her ground. And there's a lot of reasons. And a lot of it is because she was a Hispanic female judge in a very non-Hispanic
small town.
She was a Democrat in a very Republican conservative town. She ran and won 3 different terms by 5 or 6 votes. I mean, come on, it's
whatever that means.
Tiny, right?
Yeah.
She lost. I apologize. She ran against 3, white men, and she was a little engine that could, and she set the standard of never giving up, always using your voice. And she went out there and campaigned back when it was door to door, and she won. And she honored that because she knew it wasn't easy how she got to, oh my God, cry mama. She knew it wasn't easy getting to where she was. And I think because of all of that, when she was in the position, she never let anybody steamroll her into anything. She was very direct, very firm. And I think she probably loved a little bit more at home. But when mama spoke, you listened.
When you find your thing that you're supposed to do on this planet, you should cultivate it and give it away. And by not doing that, you're doing a disservice to yourself and everybody else, right? And obviously, your mom was built for that role, and she maximized that in the way she could in the small ripple you put out in a town of however far. But it affected you, which affects your daughter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a win.
Huge win. And I think also I cannot imagine raising my daughter and being that woman figure in my daughter's life any different than how my mom was with me and my sister and, of course, my brother. So, yeah. But I also get a lot from my dad as well. And that's not to take anything away from his influence in my life. But when it comes to that strong woman, even though she's 5 foot, maybe 100, sorry, mom, like 100 pounds soaking wet, give or take, you see, you feel the strength. And it always did.
Would you say that your parents led as a team? They were a united front on what went down, or were they divided in front of you? I don't want to say divided, but like,
no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like you could go to your mom for something that you wouldn't go for your dad, or you would know, hey, I'm kind of getting the answer from both. Like they are very, like, because this is what I'm saying. It takes a very confident and secure man to have a relationship with a very confident and driven woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to go out on a limb and say they led kind of together because your dad, like, you know, is that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. You know, back then in my junior high, elementary, junior high, high school years, my dad was gone a lot because he worked. He was with AT&T, Southwestern Bell, then AT&T, and he traveled a tremendous amount of time. And it was always, you know, we were latchkey kids. We take the bus home, we take the bus to school. And, you know, my dad wasn't there a lot, but it never affected us. You know, when he was home, he was home. But I say all of that to say we knew there was never a decision my mom was going to make that didn't have the backing of my dad.
Yeah.
And she was never going to make a decision that my dad would have then come in and said, no, you know, I think that has to do with respect, not because of fear, right? But because of their cohesion and because of their union and because of their same ideology, if you will, and how to raise children. And there was a lot of times where my mom would say, you got to go ask your dad. I think this is very, you know, I think at the end of the day, my dad's word was going to be the Bible. But my mom already knew probably what my dad was going to say and decide.
Or your mom said, look, this is what you're going to say.
I don't know, possibly. I get, you know, maybe.
In so many words, she was like, you're going to say something like this.
But my dad, in the respect that he had for my mom, would never openly, at least in front of us, disagree or put her down for the decision she made or say, no, we're not going to do it that way. Because there was times where he would say, whatever your mom wants to do. So, yeah, I think the bottom line foundation, whether, you know, they had good times and bad, the bottom line foundation of those two is a very strong mutual respect.
Yeah.
And fierce loyalty.
All right. So do you remember we were talking about your daughter? Can you go all the way back?
Oh, man. Remind me.
We were talking about, you were just talking about how we were talking about the sleep in the same bed, divorce. And then,
yeah.
Okay. So then what were you going to say? You were going to follow up with something. It's okay if you don't.
I don't remember. I think
fine.
Just the bottom line to all of that is, yeah, we sleep in separate beds. I still co-sleep with my daughter. And I felt a lot of shame, but I really, quite frankly, don't give a shit now.
Well, all you can really do, I mean, at the end of the day, all you can really do is worry about your kids.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm all for other people's kids, but at the end of the day, sorry, people, I'm going to choose my kid first. And
Without question.
Well, and I'm not, it's not a thing of like, I don't care about your kid or something like that. It's just like, well, I mean, like, I brought her into she is my responsibility.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've actually been working with, for the past year, I've been working with a leadership coach and she's amazing. Hi, Camille.
Hi, Camille.
And
watch my stuff and tell me what you think.
I will share this with her. She'll get a kick out of it. But one of the things that very early on in our working together is she had me identify my saboteurs as a leader, you know, what are some of my saboteurs? And one of them is I am a people pleaser. And that is a saboteur sometimes, right? And so going back to the shame I felt of co-sleeping with my daughter, even at age 6, 7, 8, 9, I felt like it wasn't pleasing to other people. I wouldn't please other people by sharing that I still co-sleep with my daughter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that is very true to the nature of who I was and kind of still am at times, is I very much want to please people. I very much want people to be satisfied with what I'm doing, whether it be at work or at home. And why are you having a scour on your face?
Because I'm thinking about old people. I work with a lot of old people. I've worked with a lot of old people. I've had a client die under me working with him, right?
In the moment?
No,
Oh,
not in the moment.
gosh.
No, just we were together long enough that he passed away.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I don't lose one in the moment. Like I'll just quit. I'll just be like, I'll get the emergency. Like, hey,
done.
like make sure I'll pay for the funeral out of my last savings fund and just go like, I'm going to go work somewhere else, Freebirds or something. But what you notice, like, and you already probably know this because your parents are older, like their give a fuck meter about what they're really going to care about and what they decide to care about and what they don't decide to care about sometimes is all over the fucking place. It's easy to read or whatever, but they've decided that these are their parameters.
Yeah.
And I feel myself that people pleasing person, I am trending towards like, I just don't like it when you get on my lawn. Get the fuck off my lawn, or whatever it is.
I know, and I see, and it's been a miraculous like turnaround of feelings of I quite frankly don't care if you like me or not, or my decisions.
But here's the hard part. Okay, in doing that, you're kind of closing yourself off, right? Because you're making these parameters in which things need to fit into.
Yeah.
So if you don't do things to kind of try to stretch that idea, like to keep, like if your daughter comes to you with some like shit music and you're like, man, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, like you have to, like she wants to go to a concert. You're like, I don't even know what this is. You just go.
Yeah.
You're not losing anything. Keep yourself open to that, everything.
Right,
like,
right.
The people that I see age well, they age well because of that.
Testing.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Well, I really have two. What do you remember about me from way back in the day? And then how does that contrast what you see in front of you now? And here's the caveat of it is like with social media, like you see evolutions unless people don't post, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Thoughts?
Wow. So on record or off? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, it's about me. So I mean, like, I'm the one that has to approve this message.
Right. I think when we met in 1994, you and I both were fresh off the small town farm, right? And you had this kindness quality to you. You were just genuine. I think you truly were that authentic, genuine, kind kid that grew up in small town USA. And I think the only difference now is in your in a big town USA, if you will. I don't think that part of you changed.
That's what's always so weird when people tell me things like that, because that's not how I remember it. I remember it as like just pure survival, like just like trying to fit in, trying to, I guess, probably fight against who I really was and then who I wanted to be, I
think you played it off very well. And I think to your point, the whole fitting in, I think if we think about those around us and how we actually met, because I met you through Melvin, and knowing that dichotomy of a relationship didn't make sense to me because he was this one persona and you were kind of quite the opposite, but you guys just had this friendship. And I don't know if that's what you mean by fitting into that little box that maybe you saw Melvin and his persona in, if you will.
Okay. And Melvin being like one of my really, really good friends, right? I look back at that relationship with him. Well, even my current relationship with him now, like, so I've probably talked about this before, but like he just like recently, I say recently in the last handful of years, started texting.
That is true.
Right. And so our relationship went to a whole new level. I mean, like, it's almost like, I don't know. It's kind of like if like somebody like passed away and then all of a sudden you like got a text message from him. Like, so because we really didn't have a lot of contact outside of like, just if we would catch each other on the phone,
yep.
Didn't see each other a lot. And so it just totally changed our relationship. But it was like, I needed him then. And then I probably thought I didn't need him. And then I need him now. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. And if you think about it, you actually did something that neither Melvin nor I did. You went to a bigger university and moved to a bigger town. And then you kind of discovered that lifestyle that neither he nor I had, because, I mean, heck, at that time, I dropped out of Victoria College and I started working at Enterprise. And, Melvin was, I guess, working. I can't remember. But you took off and you did the college life, if you will, that we didn't do.
I've never thought really about that perspective, but now like looking back on it, it was like, all right, guys, I'm going to go out there and do this for you. I'm going to go to big university.
Let's be honest, big university has to be in quotes.
I know, I'm just kidding. Like, and I'm not going to come back. Y'all are going to come visit and we're going to have fun. You know what I mean?
Never happened.
Well,
the fun part, but never visited.
All right. So this is my second question. well, we might just discuss the question. How did you having a daughter changed you as a woman, as a person? And mine would be like as a person, as a dad or a male. So how did your daughter change you?
You're gonna make me cry already.
What?
Wow, that's a big question. This is gonna sound strange, I think. I don't know if she changed the person that I am. And what I mean by that is I feel I'm still the Maggie that you probably remember from back in the day that my parents raised. That I think she cultivated a adulthood in me that I had later in life, right? Because I had her at 36 and it took me a long time to have her. So there was not that typical.
Had you tried before that?
3 years, yeah.
So so when you turned 33, you'd been trying from that point forward? Okay.
Yeah. And so ultimately it wasn't like an infertility situation. It took a while. And then when I got pregnant, I was just so scared to get to the point to where I was and then have any complications or lose her. So I didn't enjoy my pregnancy as a euphoric moment, if you will. And then even when I did have her, I was still just so afraid. So then when you think about what changed is just falling into the routine of being a mom, and you have this focus solely on this other human being versus yourself. But I've always been a nurturer by heart and as I was raised, but it's hard for me to say, oh, she changed me or I had this changing moment, other than this immense and intense love and feeling of protectiveness. And this is somebody that I have to position in life to do great things or not, I guess. So I don't know if she changed me as a woman. I just felt like it was more I took on, and the love that I took on and the responsibilities I think that I took on. But I feel that I'm the same woman and person, to be quite honest with you.
I really didn't know what I was going to say before you said what you said, right? Mm-hmm. But as you were talking, I was trying to think, like listen to what you say and just kind of think. And I like that a lot. I like just listen to people talk and just think, right? I listen to a lot of books and podcasts. I also like to do that, but it's like, I mean, whatever. Anyways, how my daughter changed me is she made me, for the first time in my life, like, I'm like, you need to be a leader.
Yes.
And like, oh man, like I might cry. Holy shit.
You're about to make me cry.
Wow.
Is this the first?
Yeah, I've never cried on my own podcast before. I want her to be strong. I want her to be a woman, or what I mean, not to get it. She can't be a piece of shit. I've said this before. You're just not allowed to be a piece of shit.
Not.
You can be whatever you want, but just don't be a piece of shit. Like, you have to, like, and I feel like that, like, I have a responsibility to lead inside of, like, even my relationship with Aaron on some level. But like, I'm not leading all the time. Sometimes she leads. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like it's like we're like president, vice president, but we can switch roles every once in a while, sure, or when it needed, yeah, or you know what I mean? Or when I step into her situation of something that she's doing, like she becomes leader in that moment. I'm like, what do you need from me, kind of thing? Right. You know what I mean? But like, I've never had any of those types of feelings kind of before her. And like, I couldn't even tell you when it started. It just started. Like, one day I noticed that I was like, well, like, this is a bunch of new shit we're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even like doing the podcast, like doing this stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Like, oh, you're going to put your opinion on the internet? Like, I mean, I don't know. So that's mine.
Well, it's funny that you say that. And I think prior to having Lucy and being, in a strong relationship or a long relationship, were you responsible for anybody else? I mean, you really weren't, were you? In terms of like being that strong force in somebody's life and cultivating.
I had dated someone that had kids.
Oh, okay.
But, like, okay. I always say it's like now I voted. Like now that I have a kid, I have an opinion on kids. Like before, when you don't have a kid, it's really hard to have a really true, like man or woman, you had a process in that child. Mm-hmm. It's a new type of vote.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And even being around kids that weren't mine, that were the girl that was dating, is not anywhere the level of like having your kid. And it's just like, I don't know. Just different.
Well, what I was going to allude to also is I have been in management, for many, many years now. And I always took that as such a personal responsibility, because it's not about, there's a leader and there's a manager, right? It's not about, dictating and micromanaging. It's about these folks that are on your team that you essentially are responsible for. And I take that to heart. I'm responsible for, ensuring their growth and ensuring their success. And so I've always felt that responsibility for the humans that I was around and from a work perspective and who I was a leader to. So then when I had a child, it kind of just came as a natural response. And you hit the nail on the head. I want my child to be a leader, and she's not allowed to be anything other than, the piece of shit, like you said. She's not going to be that, right? And I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure. But I firmly believe that my child, they have choices. And it's so important for me that when she acts out or does something or says something, and I'm like, baby, that's your choice. You have a choice to feel that way, and you have a choice not to feel that way or to do something about it. But when it comes to that leadership aspect that you were talking about, it's important that she understands in her own little 9-year-old space what's going on in the world around us and how important it is for her to have a voice, but it backfires on me. So I'm sure you've seen Aladdin, the movie.
Okay, really quickly. So I've just watched Aladdin now for like, I guess we've watched it 25 or 30 times.
But it has to be the movie, not...
Wait, the one with Will Smith?
The one with Will Smith, correct.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one with Robin Williams.
Jasmine sings the I won't be speechless, or I won't go speechless, when the new sultan is like taking over, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, love that song. Annalise and I built it out. And so I've taught her, use your voice. You have a voice. Never go speechless. Now, when I try to discipline her, well, mommy, you tell me not to be speechless. You tell me I have a voice. Not what I mean. So, but it's important that she knows that she has a voice and she can use it.
Well, you can have a voice, but like the only thing, and the real example I can think of right now is if you're angry or you're upset about something, having a voice doesn't mean you necessarily voice that in an angry, aggressive tone. Like you can get your point across in a regular tone if it's a true intention. So like just for me, when I talk to my daughter, no matter, I try to stay as level as I possibly can, because I want to teach her to stay as level as she possibly can. You know what I mean?
I do.
And it's really weird. I didn't think about this until like you started talking. Man, you're doing good so far. Maybe we should switch chairs. Maybe this like right when my daughter was born, probably like I don't know, about a year after or whatever, I reached out to one of my old managers in the fitness business. Shout out to Steve Stonehouse.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. You're cool, Steve. Anyways, and so I said, hey man, what's a book on leadership? Like I knew he was a real big reader in the book on leadership. And I've said this before, the book he recommended was Leaders Eat Last. Mm-hmm. But if you read really any really good book about leadership, they all have the same concept, which is like you lead with empathy.
Yes.
Right. And so when I go to my daughter with problems, I basically go, what do you need from me so that I can get what I need from you? So I'm like, I need you to do blank. I don't want to do it. Okay, what do you need from me so that we can get you to do this? And I did this just the other day. She like threw a plastic spoon on the ground. And I said, hey, could you please pick that up for me? And she kind of just ignored me. And I was like, all right. I was like, I can wait this out. And then within like, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, she goes, Daddy, I want a lollipop. And I was like, there's that spoon over there that I asked you to pick up. can we go ahead and pick that up now and put it in trash? She picked it up, put it in the trash, got her lollipop. I mean, it's like,
I love that. And first of all, I learn every day, and I'm such a sponge for knowledge, and I learn from everybody around me. What did you say? What do you need for me? Say that again.
so it's basically like I'm going like, okay, in the theme of leaders eat last, as a leader, you should go to all your troops or people, your team, whatever it is, right? And you go, this is the goal I need. What do y'all need from me so we can get this goal?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's like leading with empathy, right?
Right.
So if I need something from her, I'm like, look, I need you to go to bed. What do you need from me to make that happen? Daddy, I want
the laundry
milk.
list.
Like, I want a milk. Kind of do this. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's all you need. That's all you need. We clarify. That's all we need. Now I meet all those things. Now, if we're not going to bed, it's a different conversation, right? Because I met all your needs. You had no more demands. That was your rider list of what you wanted. Like, it was done. So now it's like, okay, well, maybe you're going to have to go sleep in your bed, or we're not going to be able to watch cartoons. You know what I mean? Choices.
And the reason I love that so much is when you were talking about it from a workplace leadership, I have weekly one-on-ones with my team, and shout out to my amazing team. And that's how I started. What do you need from me? You know, how can I help you? What do we need to talk about before we start getting into numbers or whatever, work related? How can I support you? Or what are you stuck on? You know, I really want to figure out what they need from me, because they're the most important thing in that moment. You know, what can I do for you? But I never did that with Annalise. Never did that with my daughter. And I love that. I never thought about turning that into how I lead my daughter in those moments.
Okay. The cat's out of the bag. That's how I do this podcast. Right? When I ask somebody to do it, I go, what do you need from me to get you to do this? And if I can meet those demands, then they come and do the podcast.
You never asked me that question.
I didn't have to ask you that question because you said yes. But
I did. I'm just kidding.
No, but I'm saying, like, you know, like if you had said like, I can't leave. I'd have to do Zoom. And that was kind of our only way. And we had to do it. Like, okay, we'll have to do Zoom. I'd rather you do it in person.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you know, can you do it on a Tuesday at 2:00? Yes. Can I make that work? You know, I'm trying, like, you know, when you're asking for someone's time, you should also be invested enough to help them get the goal the favor you're asking from them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you should participate in that. You shouldn't go, hey, I need a favor from you, and you fucking do it all. And like, I'm just going to watch you and not help to the goal that I want. I mean, that sounds kind of ass backwards.
But it's the mantra. I've been in sales since for a very long time now. And while I'm not in a sales position now, the mentality of that sales is, I'm going to give to you as much as you give to me. And when you think about negotiating, when you're negotiating a lot of different things, and in the sales businesses that I've been in, it's always a negotiation of some sort. And you get to a point of when the client or whomever it is that's in front of you, your audience, is saying, I need you to discount this, or I need you to, we're not going to do this unless you do that. It's so important I've had that mentality for so long. But again, I never used it at home. And I think that's brilliant.
Well, I mean, look, I stole it from somebody else. You were talking about earlier, God, what did you say? Oh, you were talking about earlier, maybe we were talking about like the bed situation, whatever. Look, all this I keep coming back to is like, in my household, we are all a team. She has a role, I have a role, and like, you know, you could be substituted in for any role at any moment. We're all on the same page. We're all working towards the same goal. Everybody.
Right.
So it's like, you know, she's like, hey, Daddy, I want a lollipop. I'm like, cool, let's go get a lollipop. Hand her a lollipop. I'm like, throw your paper in the trash, please.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's too much to ask for getting a lollipop.
Not at all.
Right. So like, and, you know, my daughter's really active. She wants to do stuff with us. So much so it's like, she's like, hey, Daddy, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. She goes, me help you? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I got plenty of help. I don't, no. Me help you. Wait. And she just starts to touch. I'm like, oh man, like you're helping too much help.
Yes. Annalise is exactly like that. And even when she was younger, she would want to, help sweep and, help do chores. And, Mom, she'll say it now, like, Mommy, can I help you with dinner? Or can I help you? Absolutely, baby. Come help me. Yeah. And I am a perfectionist in certain ways, and I want things done my way. And whatever. And it took not a while, but there was a moment where it's like, chill out, Maggie. It's okay if she messes up a little bit, or it's okay if she doesn't do it exactly how you would want her to do it. Your OCD needs to just be swept up because she's going to, whatever. I don't even know what example to give you, but when she's helping me cook or helping me clean or whatever, let her do it her way. It's okay.
I have a new question for you.
Sure.
So earlier, at some point, I asked you what your daughter has changed about you as a woman and a mother. So my follow-up question now is, are you letting her?
Am I letting her change me?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't believe so.
Well, so what this conversation you have with yourself where you're like, Maggie, you got to let some of that stuff go.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah.
But but what I'm saying is, are you letting her enough? Are you stretching yourself more to let go of whatever it is?
Yeah.
And trust that you've done a good job up to this point. Do you see what I'm saying?
That actually is a whole different topic that Jeff and I talk about all the time. But I think, yes, now I do. And I have never been a patient person. Ever. I have no patience. My dad once told me I could go to a grocery store and I still couldn't buy you patience. Having this child, retrospect, has given me patience that I never knew I had. And in the moment patience, right? In the moment of those OCD moments, or where she's just nagging or whining or wanting something, and you have to come at it with a patient perspective and mindset. The patience that she has shown me and has taught me over the 9 years, because it didn't come instantaneously. I think that is one of the teachable things. And I don't know if it's changed me, maybe, I guess you could say that, but it's taught me, which I guess ultimately can change you.
Man, you're resisting all that, aren't you?
A little bit. It's hard, and I think it's harder when, you are living your life up to age 36, and then you have this thing in your life at age 37, and you're like, wait a minute, I've lived my life this way for so long. And
I had my daughter at 42.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's some weird perspective.
Have you thought about when she's going to walk the stage your age and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I thought about like what's really happened is I've changed the way I train my body. I changed the way I go about the way I do things to make sure that when she's 20 and I'm 60, that, like I can be sharp. Yeah. I can be there. I mean, it's important.
Very important. And I think, yes. And knowing that she comes from a split household where what if, right? You go down that what if side of what if something were to happen to me? Would I be comfortable with how would I feel if she was just raised on one side of the parenthood versus having us both there? And that's a tough thing to think about, right? And to your point, you make changes in your life, you make changes personally, you make changes mentally, right? And it's hard to think about, for sure.
So I'm going to use extremes because it just makes it easier, but we're going to use it like as a scale, right? So we'll take a household where a child is being like abused, right? And you could scale it down to like a divorce or whatever. And then you get all the way to the other end to like kind of what you grew up with, which is everything is like hunky-dory all the time, right? Equally, you could really argue on this end, the horrible end is way more horrible. But it's not like this end's not doing any damage.
Sure.
Right? So where is that sweet spot? You know what I mean? Like where do you go, okay, these things cannot happen, and then everything else I have to kind of let go of and let happen. But these are necessary things to not happen. My child not get abused, hurt or whatever, fed, shelter, all the things. You know what I mean?
I think it's the core foundation of what you teach your child that is just so important. There's things that are going to be outside of my control, out of your control, that our children are going to face. And that's the conversation that Jeff and I have all the time, because he has older children. They range in age from 21 to 29. Jesse, how old are you? 29. And he has taught me so much about how I cannot control everything that my daughter is going to do. Now at age 9, yes, but when she gets to age 15 and 18, she is going to make choices that I may not agree with. But if I have taught her the foundation of right from wrong, that moral line, then I should have nothing to worry about. But you never know, right? Because kids these days, right? So I think when it comes from I know people, I'll give you an example, kind of going back to my parents. Both of them were raised by abusive alcoholic fathers. They themselves were not abused, but they saw their mothers get abused. And my father could have been a raging alcoholic that abused us or abused my mom, right? My mom could have just instinctively thought that was the way to go and marry a man that was like that. They chose to break that generational curse, if you will, of making the better decisions.
Would you say they chose that together?
Yes, because
they chose to have a good marriage.
They chose to, even outside their marriage. My father chose immediately to go into the Navy. He needed to lead the situation. And then as soon as my mom met my dad, she was like, "You're my way out of this house." Because, I think she was like still in 18, 19 years old or whatever, still living at home. She was the youngest of 4 children, and she was still seeing it and hearing it. And so as soon as she found my father or they found each other and they fell in love, he was her ticket out of that environment. And I think they both found outlets as a choice. They both chose to take a different path. They both, did they suffer emotionally like anybody that has been in that situation for years and years and years? Yes. Did it mold and shape how they make decisions? Most likely. But when you think about that spectrum of what is that middle ground, they were at the extreme, sort of at the extreme.
They were getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so I think they just made choices. They were also raised by strong women, by strong mothers, though. And so in a good way, right? In a good way.
Sure.
And so I think that probably helped them along the way. But again, it kind of goes back to the mothers that they had in their lives. They taught them this foundational core, whatever you want to call it, that I think helped them make the decisions that they made and the choices that they made, and not to go down the path of what they saw, from their fathers. And I think that is important to me with Annalise, in that, the decisions that I make and the decisions that her father make, we have to be so cognizant of what she sees and what she hears, because, and we have to be cognizant of what we teach her and the foundation of responsibilities, accepting, taking responsibilities, being held accountable, having that moral compass, ethics, values, integrity. That is so important now, because when she does turn 18 and she is in a situation, then hopefully she'll make the right decision because of the guidance that her dad and I gave her. I just said a lot.
No, it's okay. This is, I was thinking a lot of things, but this is what I'm going to sum it up with. You don't really need to worry about your kids copying or taking on your good traits.
Oh, right.
The ones you need to be focused on is your shit traits.
Yes.
And so when you're looking at your kid, you're like, I can't believe they did blank. It's happening for just a basic reason of being a parent, whether you're an absent parent and you don't know your father, a kid not knowing their father puts a whole new fucking dynamic on it that a person with a father doesn't have to deal with.
But what if they have a shitty dad that
or they have a shitty dad,
them?
or any of the scenarios, right? And so, you have to be really aware of this kind of stuff.
You do. You really do. You kind of made me think of the situation, the scenario that I don't know if you remember this. There was this apartment complex off of Sam Houston or whatever street. And I don't think you might have lived there. And it was you and me and 3 other people that I didn't know. And we were on a patio, and y'all, I don't know if you were, I don't remember, to be quite honest with you, but they were all smoking pot and they were blowing it in a baseball cap.
Yes, I remember this.
You remember this?
Yes.
And I passed, and I don't remember if I felt embarrassed but I just couldn't do it. And it was in my mind, I had my mom and my dad. Shout out, Mom and Dad. I knew I couldn't do it. because they had told me all along about drugs and and you guys weren't doing anything wrong. You were just smoking pot, whatever. But in that moment, that's what I hope Annalise does.
And we all thought you were a narc. I'm just kidding.
But in that moment, that's what I hope Annalise does. So when I think about those times of my childhood, right, I think about the moments that I made the right decision because I was raised to think that that wasn't the right thing for me. Not that you weren't, but I'm just saying those are the moments I hope Annalise hears me and her dad in her head saying, probably shouldn't do that.
Okay, first of all, I smoked pot in college.
Oh, yay. No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, no, don't worry about it.
But I think about it now and I'm like, dude, that was not that big of a deal, right? Back then, it was like, oh.
But one, I'm going to paint a picture of that scenario and then I'm going to give you a compliment. So this situation that we're in was at the core just sketch as fuck. I mean, it was scary. It was.
I don't remember who else was there with us.
I remember who's there, and we'll just say it was just like it was scary. I was scared. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Melvin was there. So
was he on the patio with us?
Yeah, or he was there. Like I mean, I wouldn't be there probably without him. Like there was no way I was there without him. There was no way I was there by myself. Right? Because like these are just not, I was not in that crowd, would they say, that was there.
I wouldn't, yeah. And I was there because of y'all.
Yeah. I mean, look, it wasn't my party or whatever it was. But the compliment I want to give you is that was it was a real tough situation to say no in. Because these are the kind of people that if you say no, they're kind of like, hey, what's up with that? You know what I mean? What do you have to hide? What is going on? What does your mom do? Like, you know what I mean? Like it starts to get like questioning. And like granted, like I felt like that they respected us because they respected Melvin and none of that happened. But you still said no in that situation. And that would have been, I mean, I didn't say no.
Because you wanted to do it.
Well, I mean, like somebody's blowing weed into a hat. I was like, I've never done this before. I mean, like I was living life in Sam Houston at these crappy apartments.
But you know, I think back also, we never felt scared when Melvin was with us, unless he was the one running his mouth. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Hey, I wasn't scared when he was running his mouth.
But I think you as a man, boy, you're a boy then, but you and Melvin, somehow, some way, whether it was how you were raised, the environments that you were faced in, you never made me feel, I always felt like protected and in a great place. And like, and again, times are so different now, right? This was so long ago. But again, when I hope that my daughter finds friends like that and can consciously feel comfortable around boys who know that they're not going to take advantage of them, they're going to protect them, they're going to be honest and truthful and true to who they are. That's what I also hope.
You know how I do that? So, the male role models in your daughter's life is going to be the type of person she looks at relationship. If that's her choose, but like in short, whatever she finds attractive in a person, she's going to look for that. That was a long way to say that I try to be the best person I can be because I know my daughter is going to marry someone that is like me.
Yeah.
So if I'm an abusive alcoholic, she doesn't have to, but there's a pretty good chance she might. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and cut that out.
Well, it goes back to that first question that you asked me, you know, what was I like then and what am I like now? That was who you were. You were inherently that good person, that good human. You probably made shitty choices. We've all made shitty choices. But that's what I saw in you as a friend and as a person that I wanted in my life. And that's who you are now with your daughter. Between the span of 25 years, have you made some pretty bad decisions? I'm sure we all have. But inherently, the person that you are inside, morally, ethically, was most likely still the young boy on that patio.
I mean, look, so at 2, my daughter doesn't make great decisions.
Of course not.
Okay. I give her choices every day. The only choices I don't give her are stuff that could hurt her or hurt somebody else.
Right.
And those are no's or whatever. But everything else is a choice, right? I mean, she makes really poor ones. So, but I mean, it's not my life to learn. I know better already. I'm like, hey, do you want to go to the park? Let's put your shoes on. And then she'll run around the house for 15 minutes. And that's already cut 15 minutes off going to the park.
And then she doesn't put her shoes on and she steps on the mulch and you're like, that was your choice.
But I mean, we haven't left the house yet. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're burning daylight because I only have so long to go to the park. So then she'll finally get her shoes on, and then we have to leave early. She's like, why are we leaving early? I was like, well, you took 15 minutes to put your shoes on. I mean, like, I'm trying to help you here, but you have to make these choices. But that's the only way she's going to learn, I think.
Wait till she's 9.
So like, I have lived my life with her so far of like, I'm going to teach you everything I know. I mean, we'll just say that my best friend, that we have mentioned his name on this podcast recently, was just quite the ladies' man. We'll just leave it at that. I think that's fair. And you know, he's not for everybody, but interestingly enough, he drew people in.
Yeah.
So
charismatic.
So why? But why is that? In my estimation, is because I don't know. I wonder if he's ever lived a day not being 100% himself.
Probably not.
I don't know. It seems that way. But then you thought that I was doing that when you met me, and I wasn't. I was living a whole other thing. But I think Melvin, as a friend, gave me that confidence. Like, I was thinking about like our role together, and he was like kind of the muscle, and I was like the mouth. You know what I mean? Like, if we got into a situation, it was kind of my job to talk us out of it.
De-escalate.
But like, if I couldn't, and we had to go to fisticuffs, I was like, "Hey, buddy,
there you go.
You're up."
I also
can't get us out of this one.
Is this like the poor Melvin? We're analyzing you. I also think folks like him have an underlying thing, and the persona masks it.
Well, when we talk about the scale of what you grow up with, he grew up in the more shittier area of that scale.
He did, yeah.
You know what I mean? I was thinking about. I was on the end with you. Like, my childhood was pretty perfect. My parents are pretty great. They're still pretty great. I mean, like, I couldn't, but in retrospect, and not judge, I'm a parent, so I'm not judging parents. I'm not judging mine. The thing that I want to give my daughter more that I think would have been more helpful for, at least for me, and maybe she won't think that way, is just more communication, truth, when I mess up or when I make a mistake or if I do something, to be able to apologize for it and things like that. Just, you know, a little bit more like
grace.
Yeah. And just like honesty about like what's going on. Like, what's going on today? Well, you know what? This happened today or whatever, you know?
I go back to, it is generational and it is the times. We didn't have social media back in the 80s and 90s, right? We
Thank
didn't.
God.
Our parents didn't even know, unless it was on Dan Rather's nightly news. Nobody really knew what was going on. You didn't hear about the murders and the rapes and the horrific things that are happening in today's society.
Question, real quick. Do you think it happened back then? We just didn't see it?
Absolutely, it happened back then. 100. That was my point. It's like, so they didn't shield us from some things that they just didn't honestly know. They didn't know. They didn't.
Well, they didn't have to.
They didn't have to, right? And there was no bullying, if you will. People just wouldn't beat each other up after school. It's like, all right, you beat each other up, you kind of punch and go walk away. And, you know, the senior hall, you have your fights and you walk away. There is nothing videoed. There is, and I don't know if it happens in Austin, but in Houston, it is daily. Daily.
Did y'all ever have a gun in y'all's high school?
If we did, of course we did. We had the country rednecks with their 12 gauge in the back.
Yeah, but minus that, like, there was never a gun brought into your school. There was never any kind of thing.
If there was, I didn't know about it.
Yeah. Same experience
Never.
here. It's same exact experience, right? And I think, you know, the world's kind of, it's got a little bit more fucked. We're a little bit more fucked. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like, our heads more than anything else, right? But, like, you can't, I don't know. I guess I was gonna say you can't just totally live in fear. Like, you got to live a little bit. And
I am very slowly getting out of that mindset, because I for a long time lived in fear. I lived in fear for what I was seeing, from what I was hearing. I bought into things I heard on the media. Raise my hand, and I'll admit that I would listen to things and it would scare me. I mean,
at least you've realized, like, you did it.
I did. No,
like,
for sure.
There are people still doing it.
There are.
Right,
and,
so,
you know,
like,
and I got to give so much credit to my husband, to Jeff, because we talk things through, and he helps me see and balance things out and what I'm hearing and seeing. And the one thing that he and I have both really come heart to heart is we have a bubble. our children, our 4 kids. And as long as we're doing what's right by them, and as long as we're instilling the values and ethics and morals into their world, there's nothing we can do outside of that. No matter who's in office, no matter who's making decisions, no matter what pandemic is out there, we as parents have responsibility to this bubble, and to hell with the rest of everything else.
Well, it's the only effect you can have on the world.
Yeah.
Is your bubble, your push out from there, right? I mean, some people have greater reach, but you could argue how like the farther that goes out, the weaker the signal is, right?
It is. Yeah,
like,
that's a really good point.
You know what I'm saying? So like, but you can affect your little thing. And then hopefully when your kids go out, they do that. And then, you know, you get the idea.
Yeah. And I think it has to do with, it has to do with what they do and what we teach them and how they go out and affect the world. And hopefully we have done our jobs to steer them in the right direction, but you can lead a horse to water, right?
Right.
So.
Okay. So how I usually like to wrap this thing up is I ask my question, but I'm going to ask you 2. So the first question is, how do you take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else, right? Like how do you moderate your life? But my first question is do you do meditation? You do not do.
You know me too well. Yes, I do not do.
And you do not do it because it's boring. Like
no,
like I can't do it. Like I can't feel it. Is that? Am I getting anywhere? How come you don't do meditation?
I tried it once, and my brain, I couldn't shut my brain off. I couldn't.
Can I say really quickly that's pretty normal?
Yeah, and the patience that I lack, and it's been quite a while to be quite honest with you. It wouldn't allow me to allow myself to get into the moment of what meditation is supposed to be, because I was thinking about, okay, work, home, school, whatever. I can't remember it because it's been about 2-3 years since I've done it. One of a leader within my organization with the company that I work with is a huge advocate.
Do you want me to sell you on it right now?
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
You're gonna make me sell you on it if you keep talking.
No, because this is going to go into the second piece of how I've improved my life. You can tell someone that eating 200 grams of sugar every day is horrible for them, right? But it takes that person, and they know it. We all know it, right? I mean, we know that an alcoholic knows that if they drink every single day, that's not good for them. An overeater knows that if you eat every single day the way you're eating, it's not good for you. We inherently know that. I know, I firmly believe meditation is going to be good for me. I know that. It's up to me to go and actually do it, right? And so I just haven't disciplined myself to look into it. And I can give you all of the excuses in the world, as most people do. But I know it would probably be a huge benefit for my life.
How about I give you a reason?
Sure.
Okay. Meditation is for clearing out all of those things that you're talking about, getting that all out of your head. Okay. Because when you're with your daughter, if you're thinking of anything other than being with her, you're not there. And when she's 19, 20, 25, your memories are going to be hazy at best of what 9 was like, especially if it was full of a bunch of other bullshit that you were thinking about. So if you really want to improve your relationship with her, your patience with her, your patience with other people, like you got to do stuff that takes your brain offline so that it can declutter, so that when you see her, you're like, I'm ready for you. You got my full attention.
That's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. But like, it's totally worth it. And even when you think it's not doing anything, it's doing something. I'm like, my meditation would probably, most people wouldn't call it meditation. Like I like going to the gym. I have a whole stretching routine that I do. Like I listen to kind of like a lot of times I listen to classical music and I just like kind of just zone out, blah, blah, blah. And I've realized lately, I'm like, you know, my brain's a pretty fast brain. So like, I'm kind of like pumping it full of music and stuff and acting. And I need to do more of like slowing down. It's also hard for me. You know what I mean? But like, I don't want to, this will probably be the only kid we have. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to forget or not remember or just not be present, because my time with her is hers at this point. Because at some point she's going to want her own time and she ain't going to want my time no more. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what people keep telling me, and I don't want that to happen. I know it will happen, right?
You're like,
but
Scott, why the
my
fuck?
child wants a lot of my time right now.
You're like, but I mean, like, I just like to enjoy it, I guess. Like, I'm doing this hard sell and meditation. I think that at the end of the day, again, talking about old people, I remember my client, he was like 90 something years old. And he told me, he goes, when I look in the mirror, he goes, in my brain, he goes, in my mind, I'm 40. He goes, but then I look in the mirror and it's just like, she's like a person I don't even recognize. Yeah. And I realized that like, that's because like all he had left was his brain because his body was like failing him. And so then I was like, man, I'm kind of on a mission to take care of this motherfucker.
Did you, okay, we're going to switch roles here. Did you, prior to, you know, Aaron getting pregnant with Lucy and having her and whatnot, did you feel that you needed to work on that in yourself inherently? Did you already know that you needed to declutter your mind and work on your inner self emotionally or mentally or whatnot? Okay.
I just thought of this the other day. And I don't know if I was right. I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it, but I guess like, here we go. When I was married, I would have done anything necessary to keep the marriage together.
Sure.
And that includes not being happy. Okay. So essentially, when my ex-wife came to me and she wanted a divorce, I mean, obviously I was devastated. And in the midst of that devastation, I realized, it sounds shitty, but it's like, holy fuck, like you have a choice now of how you want to live your life. You have been granted a choice. What do you want to do with it? And so I just started choosing me. I started choosing everything that I did. And so like a stalker, I hadn't talked to Erin like in 10 years and I found like her phone number on like LinkedIn or something. And like, she happened to have the same phone. We were going through similar things. She moved in, she got pregnant, we had a baby, and then the rest is like
history.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But I started choosing stuff.
I cannot agree with you more. I mean, yes, once you choose you over everything else, because you know that your life, your body, your mind, your soul, your everything is the only vessel that's going to get you to the day you die. How can you not take care of that? And now you have this little being that you have to be there for, right?
You have to put your mask on first before you put on everybody else's.
Right.
And it's such a, I think the hardest thing about that statement, I say it a lot. It's on the airlines. They say it when I think maybe they don't. Well, yeah, they do.
Yeah,
I think they do. It's down to like, it's a very hard choice. But when you look at it from a very logical place, you understand that if you want to get to an emotional success, you have to make this choice. Mm-hmm. You have to choose you first. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you want to have the emotional success of other people being saved. Otherwise, you're just a liability.
Exactly. And then when your time runs out and when your time comes, at what point are you going to leave that being to fend for themselves? And if they do have to do that, have you prepared them fully? As of right now, no. She's only 9 years old. Yours is only 2.
So since I derailed you by like badgering you about meditation, is there anything else you do to take care of yourself? Are you a reader? Do you like books?
No. No, I don't read. I've never been a reader. Everything has been hard knocks in terms of how did I get to where I am in leadership and management. And I do read articles, but I think it's very hard for me to just like go and buy a book and sit down and read it. Yeah.
Well, talk about like, we were talking about like shaming people for the way they do things. Like people shame me for listening to audiobooks. But I have read more books than I ever have in my entire life. So you can shame me all you want to, but where all this baloney comes out of my mouth is from me reading books.
I am a notch or two below that level. So,
but I just think that like I kind of had this concept that, you should always be like learning, serving, creating.
Yeah.
Okay, that's there's a cycle of like you should always be learning, you should always be serving, and you always be creating something from you. And if you do those things, it keeps the cycle going. Like so, like you need a hobby. Like get a hobby of some sort that is just for you and nobody else. You know what I mean? All the success and failures come with you.
It's yes, I don't have any hobbies. But again, it kind of comes to that self-shaming.
Soccer mom can kind of be a hobby.
Oh gosh.
But you gotta be careful. That's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? I'm
now a flag football mom too. So.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, she keeps me on my toes. And I think, when do I have time to do all these amazing things and all these, people say, oh, I'm watching this show or I'm doing this.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what these people.
And I'm like, how? Actually, Jeff and I, we 100% immersed ourselves into Yellowstone and 1883 and 1923, anything Tyler Sheridan, we are, sign us up.
All in.
All in. But other than that, it's I live and breathe my daughter, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
I between like working my day job, doing this, and being a dad, and then being a partner to my girlfriend, I mean, I don't have time for much else.
And I don't either. And going back to, I am a in the moment learner. I absorb by what I hear from other leaders that I admire. I absorb visually. I am a visual learner. And I have always felt, it's kind of like, I don't need I have a 4-year degree, but so many people that do not have 4-year degrees are some of the most successful people because of their other abilities to absorb things, right? So I've always felt that, why would I need to take the time to read a book when I am surrounded by some of the most amazing leaders that I've ever had in my career? And I listen to them and I watch them and I learn from them. And I just, it's in the moment. I'm learning in the moment versus reading it.
Okay. I'm gonna badger you one more time and I'm gonna let you go. All this observation you're doing, you can only hold so much information in if you already got bullshit in there. So if you want to meditate, if you want to turn that into a superpower, like where you're very observant, like it's weird. I'll go to the park with my daughter and all the parents are like either not paying attention to their kids, which bothers me, on their phone, which bothers me, not playing with their kids, which bothers me, right? Or whatever. But like, they're not even observing anything that's happening around them. Like a car could like jump a curb, run straight into this park, and they would have no idea. And like, it just like, it's like, but being able to clear my mind and just go, okay, this time is for my daughter right now. It is 100% about her. My desires and concerns, I have to go to the bathroom. They will be on hold for like a little bit.
Yep.
So I can talk her into going to the bathroom with me. Hey, can we go to the bathroom?
Exactly.
But like, when you meditate, it opens it up for all that kind of stuff to happen. All right. Sold? No?
Love it. I'll do it.
She just rolled her eyes. Anyways, hey, thank you so much for coming in and doing this. Did you have a good time?
I'm so sorry. That is not a indication of I didn't. I had a blast. I loved this. First of all, I loved connecting with you again, seeing you, and all of your success and whatnot. But I love talking. I love talking things through. I thought this was awesome. This was amazing.
Awesome. I always ask everybody, give me a hug. You can push the mic out or you can kind of dodge around it. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Anytime, my friend.